how to be allies to transgender people and others in the LGBTQIA+ community can help build a more inclusive and accepting world. Here to talk about allyship and showing up in her skin, Jamie Pandit, everyone. Lots of love for her, because this is a tough conversation to have off camera, on camera, anywhere. I want to know, as a woman of transgender experience, what were your life and relationships like before coming out?
Oh my gosh, Tracy, where do I start? I came out to my parents when I was 15, and I've been keeping myself a secret, essentially, till I was 32, so just 2 years ago. So during that time, you know, besides my partner and like my family, obviously, like I had best friends for like 8 years, 7 years, like nobody knew, not a single soul knew, because I was so ashamed of my identity. I wanted to keep it a secret. I didn't want to be labeled as a trans person. I just wanted to fit in and just blend in.
Yeah, no, I get it. It's almost survival instinct too, right?
Yeah.
Because telling all of these people your truth, there is a price to pay for that. And I want to talk about, now that you've been out publicly for only 2 years, which is actually very surprising for me, because I see you come in here and you're confident, and it's been a fairly new revelation for all of the people in your world. Do you find you're moving through the world differently now?
100%. It's kind of like what you touched on at the survival. I think people see this confident woman outside, and inside I'm always not. Yeah. Sorry.
Never apologize for crying here, honey.
If I didn't keep my identity a secret, I wouldn't have the opportunities and the successes I have in life now. And coming out, it definitely was a very freeing experience. Like, I feel like I get to breathe a little bit easier. I don't have to do certain things to act or be feminine, you know, or don't use my voice at all, because I barely spoke before. But it is scary to be out and in a very public way, and to be in rooms where I'm often the only trans person. So I moved through the world feeling lonely often and alone, even though I have such a huge community support online. And obviously, like my husband, he's the best. But it's hard, because I feel like I'm coming out again and again and again, like right now, probably.
Yes, so the re-traumatization of it all. And one thing I see online and in person, the emotion is like here. You're brimming with it. And I want to know, what is it that makes you feel so emotional about this journey or the situation that you're in right now? Because I would love for people to understand what you have to deal with on a daily basis.
Yeah, I think this is probably the main reason why I kept my identity a secret, and just so I can like survive, was I didn't want to be traumatized every minute of my life. There has not been one day since September 4th, 2020 that I've not gotten a hate message every minute of every day. So it's like, you know, I'm in therapy now. I'm, you know, opening up, talking about different parts of my life that I've never discussed before. But, you know, being traumatized every minute, it's like, how do you heal when you're constantly traumatized? And it's a lot.
A lot of that traumatization is coming from social media and the comments people are just flinging your way. When I said to you,
microaggressions, sometimes,
microaggressions,
you know, in person.
Talk to me about the microaggressions.
It could be the smallest things, and I know sometimes people don't mean to say it that way. It's like, you know, oh my gosh, you're trans. I would not have known you, but you're so beautiful. Or like, you don't look trans at all. Just like comments like that. It's like, we wouldn't say you don't look brown, right? Or you're pretty for a brown person. It's like, it's very backhanded. So just like little comments like that, or like, are you gonna have kids? Like, well, obviously not.
Don't ask anyone that.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't ask anyone that. But then for you, there's layers.
There's many layers.
There's many, many layers there. When we talked a little bit about trying to protect yourself and save yourself and be in survival mode, you said to me, literally, your job is influencing on social media. You're living and making money in those spaces. So when this terrible comments are coming at you, there's not much you can do.
There isn't, and to be honest, like even today, like coming on TV, like seeing like an audience, you know, and you are so lovely and you're so kind, but just even sitting in front of you, it's like there's days where I don't want to be seen. And you know, today I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can be seen today. Like, I don't know if I can do this. But something in me, again, was just like, you know what? Like, you have to do it to create that representation, to create that visibility. I talked to a couple trans girls today that I met for the first time, and it was just a lovely conversation. We're all holding each other like, oh my God, we're real, you know, because that doesn't happen ever, like other trans people in one room. So like that was like beautiful for me to experience.
It's a hard time now, it's a hard time always, but there have been so many stories right now of major brands featuring trans influencers and campaigns receiving a lot of backlash from conservative groups. And as a response to the hate, these brands have backpedaled their way out of allyship. Talk to me about what's happening with your own experience with representation when you're working with brands.
So when I first, started working with brands, I feel like it was difficult to, again, navigate because I'm often the first trans person they've ever worked with, so they don't even know how to communicate with me. They don't know, like, the ins and outs, so it's like I'm constantly educating and teaching them things, which is obviously laborsome. It's hard because a lot of brands want to be inclusive, and they, want to put you in for that Pride campaign, and then they forget you for the rest of the year. It's like, it's important to amplify our voices, especially during this month with everything that's happening with laws and policies trying to eradicate our voices. But then it's important to also show this visibility like throughout the year to normalize us.
Yes. I want to talk about allyship. What does that look like to you? What do you need to see and feel and hear?
I don't even think at this point I want to say education because everyone says education. I think it's action, right? It's literally action. It's like, if I feel brave enough to tell you that, hey, that comment that you made was hurtful, maybe don't say that. Me correcting you doesn't mean that I'm being sensitive, I'm being over-emotional. I'm brave enough to even say something, which shows, I think, a lot. So I think it's just being open to being corrected. And then, when you're hearing transphobic comments, when you're hearing just the negative rhetoric, like, if you don't know something, sometimes it's better to say something at all, like, hey, like, I wouldn't maybe talk about this if you don't have, education on it or the language to provide the proper knowledge. Just taking the time to actually say something, do something, because if you don't do something, then it becomes a bystander effect. And then other people don't do it either. But then when one person does it, people start chiming in.
Yeah, I say this all the time. It takes one person to change the temperature in a meeting, in a room, in an elevator, in a retail store. One person. If you can lean into your curiosity and say to someone, well, what do you mean by that? Or, like, what proof do you have of that? You have to, as the non-trans person, be in these spaces saying these things because you, my love, need to rest. You can't keep fighting all the time. Like, that's detrimental to you. So everyone else has got to take up that cause and protect folks that are marginalized.
And listening from a trans person's experience, too, right? It's like, of course, Google has lots of information, but what was true in 1920s is not the same information anymore. Like, we have the tools now, whether it be science, whether it be doctors, like, do the work to learn and do better.
You are full of courage, and I hope that there's going to be a one day where you don't have to be so brave, Jamie. Thank you so much for being so open with us always.
Thank you, Tracy.
Thank you so much.